All right. So I'm going to open in prayer. But I do want to warn you, last year maybe I destroyed some Christmas carols for you.
You can do it again?
Oh, I am going to obliterate some of these traditions. This was more fun than the Christmas carol, because some of these things that we do, man, the history is dark. Like, it is not good. And so we'll have some fun. We're going to be looking at 6 today, and then probably next week, maybe 7 or 8, depending on how much time this takes. But it's a lot of fun looking at this stuff. So let me open in prayer, and then we're going to jump into Christmas tradition, theology, history, and background. So please pray with me. Lord, we come before you. We ask that you would be with us as we walk through this fun and interesting journey, Lord. We ask that you would speak to our hearts as well as our minds. We ask this in your name. Amen.
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 All right. So I don't have much of an introduction. I don't really have any introduction. I gave it to you.
Good.
I was told that the Sunday school class was coming to this, but they're not here. And the reason that that's important is because I edited some of this stuff. Because there were going to be young ones among us.
You want me to go get him?
No, just change your...
So I might include some of the things that I had initially taken out if they...
We are on...
That's Diane.
Yeah,
If they don't show up.
Aren't we online?
Yeah, we're online.
Better be careful.
I won't. I will be careful. I'll try. I'm not very good at being careful. All right. So there's a variety of things that you and I do, just as kind of part of the season. And what's really fascinating about it is that most of us have very different traditions that we engage in, that are Christmas to us. Some of the things we all do, like we all, to some regard, exchange presents, and to some regard, we have Christmas tree and all of that. But some of these things, you may not engage in, but other people do, and it's part of what it means to celebrate Christmas for them as a family. So we're going to be walking through a variety of topiks, and the first one is that song that I was initially playing for you, which is
Good King Wenceslas.
Yeah, I personally cannot, for the life of me,
Switch the slide.
switch slides. It's on.
Maybe it needs a battery.
Just use the space bar.
Part.
Let the airline do it.
There goes.
Okay, I, for the life of me, cannot say his name. But you all have heard the song, right?
Yeah.
You're all familiar with the song. I played it when I came in. I played several different versions of it. Well, I did want to share some things about that song with you, just as a way to bridge last year and this year. Last year we looked at hymns. Now we're going to be looking at Christmas traditions. But one last little song to talk about here is this one. Popular Christmas song about a king who helps a poor peasant in a snowstorm. I love it. Is it a Christmas song?
Should be all year long.
On the feast of...
Does anybody know the
Is this a song? I asked a couple people. I said, "You're familiar with this song?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, where were you made familiar with the song?" What do you think their answers were?
Christmas.
Sunday school.
Christmas, specifically. Where? When in Christmas?
Church.
Church. We were made familiar with this song in church. What's the song about?
King Wenceslas?
Helping the poor.
It has absolutely nothing to do with Christmas. Absolutely nothing. Not one single thing, except it takes place in winter.
Yep.
That is it. That is the extent of its Christmas. But there are some things that you should know about this song. It's a real individual, real historic figure. And he really did this. Saved a peasant in a snowstorm. What you might not know is he died this absolutely horrible death. Outside of a church, he was killed by his own brother, stabbed while he was praying outside of a church, and then more bad things that I'm not going to share with you. But you can look it up. Died an absolutely horrible death. But when you go through the song, what you find is there's not one single Christmas thing in here. There is no way that people should become familiar with this song in church. Diane, what are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
Is there anything Christmassy in here?
No, but if you look up this melody, there is actually a song that goes by the name of Gentle Mary Laid Her Child that uses the same melody, so we could easily swap that
Which
out.
one's first?
Oh, that one was the first one, absolutely.
I'm 35.
Actually died as he's considered, he was immediately made a martyr in the church as well as a saint. In Prague, they have this statue of him. Pretty cool little story, not really Christmassy. That's just kind of like the appetizer. All right, so now moving on from there. I just found it really fascinating. Caroling. How many of you do this? Anybody do this? Anybody do caroling? Steve does caroling. Okay. Jim, Bev, Leslie. Used to, until you knew the history behind it, huh? Caroling probably has like the darkest history behind it that you could ever possibly imagine or conceive. So dark that the church banned the practice of caroling. You are not allowed to carol. Why? Why were you not allowed to go around caroling? It's a delightful practice, isn't it? Look, little delightful people caroling. So when you actually get into it, though, it was highly controversial, potentially dangerous practice that was banned by the church, and it was a really controversial practice at various points in history. One of the main points is around the 17th century. It gets really, really bad. So I'm going to share some stuff with you on it. It was a pagan practice from the start. And it became a tradition for them to go around singing carols outside of the Lord's houses and receive cups of wassail and food in exchange. So what they would do is the peasants or the poor would go around to the lords and they would sing them songs, and then the lords would bring them Christmas drink and food as a way of saying thank you. And this was the common practice. It was pagan practice. The church got involved, and when the church gets involved, they are like the no fun police, right?
When you say the church, you mean Anglican, Episcopal, or Christian?
Just there's at the very beginning of this, there's just one church. It's the holy church.
Oh, that church or the Episcopalian?
There is no Episcopalian church.
Okay, so we haven't banned it?
You will in the 17th century.
Well, we used to do it in youth groups, that's why I asked you.
You didn't do it like they did it.
All right, what's the rest?
So early on, the church tries to get involved because what they want to do is they want to make it, Christian practice. So the church gets involved, but in doing so, they make it no fun. And the way that they do that is when they do the songs, all the songs are done in what? Latin. Nobody likes the songs. They're all horrible. They're all horrible songs and you can't sing, and they're all done in Latin. So the people reject the the songs that the church gives them, and they refuse to sing them. Instead, they go back to the pagan songs that they used to sing, and they continue the practice. So the church's involvement ends pretty quickly because the people just won't go along with it. All right, so you move on from there. Let me make sure I didn't skip anything. You move on from there, and carolers or wassailers of the 17th century would arrive at homes unannounced and demand that they be given the residents' finest food and finest drink. And if they didn't, there were consequences.
Oh, no. This is like
So,
trick or treat, huh?
it's worse than trick or treat. So they would sometimes threaten violence. They would destroy the property. They would rape women. They would break down the doors and go in and just take whatever they wanted. And they had a little jingle that they would say when they went to your house. They would say, "We've come here to claim our right, and if you don't open up your door, we'll lay it flat upon the floor." And so when people didn't give them what they wanted, this is what they would do. And it's all part of the history of caroling. So what the church did after the 17th century was try to ban the practice of caroling, because what it ended up being was just craziness. And you can look all this stuff up online. It's really fascinating. It's all out there. And so that's the history of caroling. Now, what we do today is very different from that, but it does come out of that tradition, and that is part of the history of caroling, and it has very dark history. It was not always good. In fact, the lords would hire security to stop carolers from coming. And the entire job of the security was to be on alert for carolers, and they would usher them away, because it began to be such this like horrible, terrible practice. And so, but that's kind of the dirty, nasty history of caroling.
Did they sing Christmas?
No. No, it was all pagan. The church tried to step in and give them Christian stuff that they could sing, but in doing so, they made it all Latin, and it was just songs that they didn't really want to sing. And so, coming out of this tradition, we have caroling, which is much more pleasant. Probably the activity that Jim engaged in more than breaking down people's doors. Yeah?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you meant it was currently banned by the church.
It is not currently banned.
Oh, okay.
It is not a banned practice right now. But it was
Okay.
banned for a pretty decent time, like more than 100 years. Like, banned the practice. So what we engage in today in caroling seems like the most innocent thing, but in the past it developed into something that was really, really bad. And you can see how this develops very, very quickly. So that's the history of caroling. Any thoughts y'all have on that? Questions?
Do they say when they started being back to the practice where we were singing Christmas carols and whatever?
Around, you're going to move it to the 19th century, somewhere around there. I mean, quite a while ago. This is pretty far in the past, but it is part of the history. So that's the deal on caroling. All right. So how about the Candy King? Will I destroy the Candy King?
That's fine.
Can you destroy the Candy King?
Yes.
I don't know, can you?
All right, so does anybody know the legend of the Candy King?
The shepherd's crook.
No, the legend of the Candy Cane is delightful.
The shepherd's crook.
Anybody? Yeah. So what it was a choir master. So we'll just randomly pick Diane. Let's say Diane, and she has a children's choir. And the legend is that Diane, in order to keep the children focused and not engaged in rowdy behavior, Diane gives them candy canes. And at first, they're just sticks. They're just sugar sticks. And they're white, and they're just sugar. There's no peppermint flavor. There's no stripes. There's no nothing. And there's no bend in it. It's just a straight sugar stick. But she gives them to them. And then it develops over time where you get the bend in the candy cane where it looks like a shepherd's hook. In fact, the guy, this is real, the guy that made the machine that bent the candy sticks into the hook was actually a seminarian. And so he bent it to make it like a shepherd's hook. And then there's all sorts of ideas based around this. So the white on the candy cane is for purity of Christ. The red on the candy cane is for the blood of Christ. The 3 stripes, the 3 thin stripes on the candy cane, that's to represent the Trinity. Obviously, the shepherd hook is to represent Jesus as the good shepherd. You turn it upside down, what does it look like? Looks like a J for Jesus. All these sorts of things, okay? Is it true?
No.
Is the legend of the candy cane true? So I went through all this with you as far as the different aspects. But as far as we know, probably most of this is not true. It's just a legend. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool legend. And I love all the symbolism. And you could take it and use it as a teaching for Sunday school, or if you had a children's choir, or for even adults. It could work that way. But is that how it developed?
No.
Most likely no. So the great candy cane legend is just that. It's just a legend. And there might be some truth to it, like the seminarian did invent the machine that did bend it. But that's about the extent of the candy cane legend. Thoughts on that?
Keep moving along.
Anybody sad that it's just a legend? All right. Okay, you don't seem too broken up about the caroling or the candy cane.
I'm surprised about the 3 stripes.
How about the pickle? How about the pickle? Come on, the Christmas pickle.
Yeah. What?
You've never heard
Nobody, you have not heard of the Christmas pickle?
Where have you been?
All right. So here's the story. Here's the story of the Christmas pickle. Okay? The story of the Christmas pickle is some people have a pickle ornament. And they'll put that pickle ornament on their tree. It's the last ornament put on the tree. And some families have it so that whoever finds the pickle on the tree, they get to open the first present. Some families, we do this in my family. We have a pickle, we put it on the tree, we hide it, it's the last ornament, and whichever of our kids finds the pickle, they get the pickle present. They get a special present that is for the finder of the pickle. Let me tell you that the pickle has caused more fights in my family than anything else.
I can imagine. I can totally see that.
And a lot of people do this. Karen?
I put a pickle on the tree for the Christmas Eve dinner that I host every year, and I have to have a prize that is appropriate from 8 years old to 29 years old.
Ooh, that's tough.
Because sometimes I have 2 prizes. Like the adult got the can of beer. And
You didn't give the beer to the 8-year-old?
Germany.
I never heard of that. Yeah, we did it all the time.
Oh, shoot, I wasn't expecting you to find it.
I've heard of it, but we've never.
My
That I
two
can
boys
remember.
are as opposite as can be. And so doing this for them is very difficult because they don't like the same thing. So we just do a stuffed animal. Every year it's a stuffed animal. It's going to be awkward when they're 18. But that's what they're getting. So, story of the pickle. How did this come to be? How did it come to be that we put a pickle on the tree and we go fund it, and you get a thing? How many in here have never heard of the pickle, the Christmas pickle? Oh, that's quite a few. How many people in here do the pickle?
Used to.
And it's a German thing, right? Isn't it like?
Well, no. That's what's fascinating about it. So, the idea was, this is a great German tradition. We're walking in a German tradition. In fact, I'm German, and that is why we started doing it, because ye old great German tradition. Of course, we're going to do this, right?
We're in Germany.
Well, they, because of the internet, you can actually ask Germans about their great pickle tradition, which you couldn't before. You would just tell people, oh, it's a great German tradition, and there was no way to confirm or to deny the German tradition of the pickle. But now, with the internet, you could just say, hey, tell us about your great pickle tradition. And what we found is that only 8% of Germans ever even heard of the pickle tradition, and only 2% actually do it. So it's not a great German tradition.
So is it a Pittsburgh tradition?
It's not a Pittsburgh. Yeah, it should be, but it's not a Pittsburgh tradition. So I went through all that with you. That's the story. So there's three possibilities on where we got this tradition. One is old German tradition. No. And then the second is others suggest that it's from a Civil War soldier who miraculously recovered after eating a pickle at Christmas time. And so now we do that. Well, that sounds weird, right?
Yeah.
That can't be. That sounds ridiculous. So it's not the Germans, and that's just dumb, right?
Right.
Well, the third one's even dumber.
All right.
You get to the third one, and it's a tradition or the story of the Spanish boys and the evil innkeeper who killed the boys, by the way, killed the boys and then put them in a wooden pickle container thing, and then they were brought back to life by St. Nicholas.
Oh, I bet they stunk.
Okay, well that sounds ridiculous too, right? That can't be right. So, how did we get the pickle tradition? It does go back to Germany, but not in the way that you think. It goes back to Germany because the tradition started because Woolworths started selling glass ornaments made in Germany. And they got all these ornaments brought in, and they needed to sell ornaments. And for some reason, there were lots of pickles, because Germans love pickles. And so they had all these pickle ornaments, and basically Woolworths made up stories to sell their pickles.
How hilarious.
I love it.
It's all a
Advertising.
marketing tactic. It is all marketing. How will we sell these pickles? Great German tradition. You can't confirm it. You can't deny it. We will sell mass amounts of pickles.
And they did.
And now it's a tradition, and now we do it because of Woolworths. That's funny.
I want a pickle now.
That's pretty funny. All right, so the pickle tradition is really cool. It's really cool because it's hard to find on a tree because it's green. And in fact, we bought our tree last night, and we were decorating it, and on the back side of the tree is a big gaping hole. The front side is absolutely amazing, but the back side is this big gaping hole. And Luke is helping me do Christmas lights, and Luke says, "Dad, I found the best place to find the pickle. I'm just going to look in that hole and I can see the entire tree." So, Owen didn't help me put lights up. Luke did. So my money this year is on Luke. All right, that's the pickle. It's a really fun tradition, but it was a marketing tactic.
That's hilarious.
All right, the Nutcracker. Anybody go to the Nutcracker? Big fans of the Nutcracker?
Love it.
Yeah?
It's terrible.
You know what I've heard people say? I've heard people say, it's not Christmas unless I experience the Nutcracker. It's not Christmas unless I go to the Nutcracker. Yeah? Anybody feel that way? All right. I have absolutely no culture, so going to a ballet is like, yes, very painful, about on the bottom rung for me. But let's look at the Nutcracker, okay? The Nutcracker is based on this old story, 1816 story, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, by the German author E.T.A. Hoffmann. Now, if you're familiar with the original story, it's creepy. It's really creepy. And there are several creepy aspects to it. The original tale is very dark. It's a classic story of toys coming to life. It is absolutely void of God, Jesus, theology, and it is morally questionable, to say the least. So, the idea that the Nutcracker is Christmas is the same that Die Hard is Christmas.
It is Christmas.
The only thing Christmassy about Die Hard is that it takes place during Christmas. The only Christmas thing about the Nutcracker is that the story takes place during Christmas. That is it. So ladies, if you are Nutcracker fans and you believe that this is Christmas, so is this. We get to watch Die Hard for Christmas.
Perfect.
It is definitely a Christmas movie. It is as Christmas as the Nutcracker, as they say. All right, so let's look at the original story, okay? I tried to get the yippee-ki-yay, but it always comes with the rest. All right, so it begins with a 7-year-old girl named Marie who slices her arm open after being startled by a vision of her toy Nutcracker coming to life. Okay? As a repercussion, as she recuperates, her godfather tells the tale of the man cursed with ugliness of a nutcracker by a heartless queen. Okay? So, and then the girl says, eventually declares that she would love the Nutcracker no matter his appearance, and she's whisked away from the doll kingdom, or into the doll kingdom to marry him. Is this like the story, the Nutcracker? No.
Is that the way
And she does marry him
I don't think I
at 8. It's the story of an 8-year-old getting married to a man, to a king.
That looks like a nutcracker.
That looks like a nutcracker. This is the foundation of the Nutcracker ballet. I just thought it was cool. Because I don't like the Nutcracker. All right, cookies and milk. This is cool. Where did the tradition of cookies and milk come from? So you know the tradition.
Visco.
You know the story. So, families everywhere. Santa's coming. What do? You put out cookies and milk for Santa. And most families do this. I'll grab the pat in 1 minute.
It
Unless
has
you,
nothing to do with that. It's
Okay.
the other, it's the nutcracker.
oh yeah, Nutcracker. Let's go.
What is the significance of the mouse? You said.
It was just
That's
another
just
one.
the-
Oh, they're like warriors for the evil queen. Yeah, it's very, very strange.
Oh, okay.
It's a very bizarre
Well, the
story.
reason why I asked was my daughter-in-law this year gave me a nutcracker and the mouse.
And
I
mouse.
thought, what are the two of those?
What am I doing with this
Yeah,
mouse?
what's the significance? And then you bring it up today and you mentioned the mouse, but you didn't elaborate.
Mouse
No, the mouse wasn't really. Mostly what I wanted to talk about is the 8-year-old getting married to the man.
Not in the back.
Let's all go see the Nutcracker. Like, I don't know how that still flies today.
As long as we don't watch the
All
First
right,
Nation.
cookies and milk. So, you know, we all put out cookies and milk for Santa, and then, you know, do the whole cookies and milk thing. Okay, so, where did it start from? Well, one of the things that's really interesting about the whole cookies and milk thing is that it is a practice that's pretty young, and it is distinctly American. We do this. And when did we start doing this? Any ideas?
Pasteurized milk, I don't know.
Great Depression. We started doing this during the Great Depression. And why would we do this during the Great Depression? Why did parents do this?
Because we're teaching our children to give.
You're teaching your children to give. That is the whole idea behind cookies and milk, is that even in hard times, even when we have nothing left to give, we give what we have. And we're going to give, and it was a way to teach your children that we always take care of people. So that's kind of a cool tradition.
That's sweet.
So it seems like a ridiculous thing that we do, but it was done from parents wanting to put into their children the need to care for people even when you're hurting. And I think that's a really cool story.
That's super cool.
So that is the story behind cookies and milk. Began during the Great Depression. And that brings me to next week. So we ended early. I will add 8 next week because we ended early. So I'm going to add 2 more. There is no shortage of these. And there are some really interesting ones. So we're going to look at a variety of topics next week. So we'll actually look at 8. I have 6 done. I'll just shoot 2 more in there and go from there. Yeah.
The cookies and milk, I think Britain started that too. I don't know how.
Did they? Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. When the Great Depression happened, it was that.
It was worldwide.
Okay, worldwide. Okay. So maybe what I meant to say is relatively new and distinctly Western. Western practice. Yeah, John?
I lived in Puerto Rico in the early 70s, and there was an old Christmas tradition called a parranda, and people would spontaneously go door to door. And they told me I was singing this in Spanish. I can't say for sure what I was singing, but that you would go sing, "If you don't feed me and give me drink, I'll cry." And it was a progressive thing. They would feed you, and then they would join you, and you would continue on. It was a strong tradition.
I don't want to be the one that's last.
In the tradition of caroling. It's kind of like the bridge. Not, I'll break down your door and destroy your property and harm you. You'll make me very sad.
One extreme to the other.
Questions, comments, concerns, issues? Anybody gonna stop doing certain practices? Anybody gonna start doing certain practices like cookies and milk or the pickle? Wholesome things.
I want a pickle. Just to have a pickle on top.
I shall hire bodyguards to keep you up. There will be no caroling, Jack.
Spreading the pickle. Spreads the pickle around. They got a huge pickle like this that they put with different animals.
Oh, really? They hide it with
No,
different?
they hang it there for the animals to, because it's supposed to give just something interesting for the animals to see. But it happens to be a pickle.
Do the animals find great delight in the pickle?
Apparently so, because they put it in different areas of the zoo. And so like when it's with the giraffes, it smells like a monkey because it was with the monkeys last.
Oh.
And so it gets all the different smells and then they are not so isolated. Oh, I like it.
So the pickle continues. I would highly encourage you to consider the pickle tradition. It's a great tradition. Ye old German tradition.
Hey, I'd be able to win, we'd be able to win that. The husbands never could find anything.
Anything else y'all have?
That's true.
Well, you are free to talk about your own traditions. And the darkness
Oh,
found
it's
you.
only 10 after.
I'm gonna go find the bathroom.
Yeah.